There's often confusion. There's often conflation of the two, but they're very different.
Different people mean different things by diversity.
Diversity very often involves segregation and involves separate markets and racial and ethnic transition, whereas integration does not. It involves people participating in the same markets, in the same place, at the same time, whites, blacks, Hispanics, and Asians all competing together. And that means that there's more demand for what a community has to offer. That's everybody wins sort of situation.
And if you're like that, then, you know, an integrated community is definitely the place for you.
That the engineered segregation that exists, that's out there and now gets perpetuated just by doing nothing, to counter that locally, it requires intentional effort.
Racial impact of what's going on and the observation that there really is, even in 2011, there's a lot of inequality and a lot of segregation and race-based. A lot of the inequality that we see is racially based.
And I think it's because race is so undercurrent, so I guess in the background for people that and so uncomfortable that just to even have the ability to talk openly and frankly and honestly about race is really the first step and the biggest hurdle that has to be accomplished in a town. And most of the time, towns don't have that on their own.
Part of the work of the pro-integrative organization is that process. It's not only doing things within the community, external to the community. It's not only policy considerations and operational programs, but it's a process that develops trust and a willingness to work with others on issues that are quite emotional. They're not just economic, they're not just social, they're emotional. Polling indicates that the great majority of Americans would love to have a neighborhood where everybody wants to live with them and where property values and school reputation and the civic life are all vibrant and thriving.
I think it carries through your children and the education that they get and their ability to go out into the world and handle all types of people and how comfortable they are.
And I think that at its core is the concept of integration, that when people live next to each other, they get to know each other as people and find out that they do have a lot in common.
On the economic side, is that you appeal to 100% of the market. So if you're trying to get the most money for your house when you sell it, you want everybody that has the money, the cash in their hand, to come through your house and pick out your house to buy. That's who you want, is the largest sales market.
Integration is not just an end, it's a means as well as an end. And it becomes the way of the community. And you can take pride in that. And it doesn't mean that you're not doing other things. You're doing all the other things that communities do, but you're doing them with an intentional integrationist mindset.
Rounding off the sharp edges of inequity that are so rife in our society and in our world.
That's beautiful.
Eric Dobson and Emilio Panassi have really helped bring open into a new kind of dimension.
For me, open is a wealth of education. They were the ones who, thank goodness we found them early enough that we had not made any major mistakes in our efforts to really become an integrated community.
And the notion that diversity will inevitably evolve into integration is it's a hopeful notion, but it's mistaken. It doesn't tend to happen that way.
The benefit that Open has is because of all their years of experience, they help the town see not just what they intend or want, but how they can get what they intend or want.
They want to move in a different direction, but they don't quite know how. And I think Open has really been able to be of great help to several communities.
Analyze where your town really is, because that's the other thing. You need to know a lot about the town when you start off with this work.
You have to be race conscious. You have to recognize that it's important to reach out effectively to people who don't necessarily respond to the same words or the same images.
Intent may be to increase racial balance or racial equality or integration, and yet the effect may be something very different.
It takes knowing where it is that you want to go, as well as where you actually are now. It takes understanding not only what the reality is, but how it's perceived by various elements within the community. It takes setting out in a particular direction, but being willing to use an assortment of vehicles as the environment changes, as circumstances warrant adjustments.
It takes more than just being, okay, let's eliminate racism and then everything will be fine. It's not that simple.
It's going to happen as a result of local community efforts. And local community efforts requires interracial organizing for a specific purpose.
The first thing I would tell a town that's starting to change is don't move because of the change.
Each community has to live in its own place. It has its own political, cultural history. It has its own assets.
That you have to have some kind of incentive or attraction to bring that to bring in underrepresented races.
It can start with one person who can be on his or her own, willing to reach out to somebody who doesn't look and sound like him or herself. It can start with a group of people who originally had some other sort of purpose and who've decided that they want to invest themselves in trying to promote a sustainably racially integrated community.
Go meet all your new neighbors, go talk to them, embrace them, make them feel comfortable just like you would 50 years ago. Because I don't think people do it today, regardless of what race you are. There's very few people welcome their neighbors when they come in.
It's really part of my everyday living, part of my existence. And I think about these things all the time.